The following preview has been rated Good Weird by Nicho.
And Just Good by Chris.
By the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Please check out the full episode when it releases on Wednesday. I forgot to write an intro for this preview.
That's okay.
But we are doing The Wicker Man. It's Mayday-ish.
It is Mayday-ish.
So, and also, unfortunately, the day that we found out that there's going to be another DVD release of this movie.
We are truly cursed to only review movies that, it's too late for us to think about bumping it back or switching it out. Because, it was today, I think, that you were like, a new DVD set. Curses.
Yeah. No, it just got announced today, too. So we're lucky in that regard, which it gives us reason to go back and do a spotlight or a micro view.
Honestly, because The Wicker Man has so many layers and facets to it, this is one that when you inevitably do buy the new DVD collection, which is supposedly supposed to have the entire footage scrubbed and made clean and pretty, I wouldn't mind doing a full movie night, group movie night, to then reevaluate this as a group.
Yeah.
Because I watched this. I mean, I've seen this movie several times in all of its iterations, but, I reevaluated it on my own so that I could, really sit there and take my time with the symbolism and really, follow Howie and Howie's thought process for this review. Because I have come to the conclusion that Howie is the dumbest cop ever to be sent anywhere.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it is definitely, after listening to commentary and rewatching and just going through this movie more so than I have in the past, there is a lot to digest with it.
Yeah.
But there's also this rewatchability throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, because, again, I've seen this movie several times over a course of several years, and I had never liked Howie, as a character, but, he was never, a bad main character. I just never jived with him. But because I chose, instead of following Willow's thought process or the Lord's thought process, I specifically sat there and focused in on Howie and did some background research and, tried to figure out where Howie would have been coming from for when this movie was supposedly happening. I kind of have a different viewpoint on this movie, and so I'm excited to rewatch it and hopefully next time be able to pick a new character to go from. I'm really hoping that when they redo it, we get a nice color scrub of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I can finally do some color analysis, because there's implied color analysis in this movie, but because it's elderly and it's been through some shit, it doesn't show up well.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's true. I mean, the history of the film's also kind of interesting, just finding out where it came from and, what happened to it afterwards, all the studio bullshit that happened.
And also to discover how much Lee loved this film and, how much he believed in this movie. Oh, yeah,
no. I think that's some of the best stuff is... And I've honestly learned, especially through doing Lord of the Rings and this, anytime Christopher Lee appears for some commentary, there is some nugget of gold that he is going to drop on you, and it's just...
And it's never a little thing oh wow, he was so generous and worked on this for free. More like in our Lord of the Rings example, yeah, we learned that maybe he's killed a man.
We know he's killed a man.
He's probably killed a man.
Yeah, but. And that's the thing, too, with this movie is, there is, even though we know roughly when it's set, there is a little bit level of, timelessness to it.
There really is. And I think part of that is because this movie's setting is on this island meant to be separated from the rest of the world. They are in their own society that works for them, and they're jiving. They're having their own time. And I like this version... the smallest bit better than the village from Midsummer, because while they have very similar themes and ideas, the village is both aware that they are the weird ones and also needing to rely on the outside world, whereas in The Wicker Man they could have given less shits if this man was there. In fact, they actively were hey, would you like to leave? And Howie, again, is the worst logic thinker on the planet.
Well, it's all just tests to make sure that he is the chosen one.
He is the dumbest chicken.
Yes. But, yeah, I mean, there's such iconography to this movie that it sticks with you so much more than like the Nicolas Cage version.
I agree. And I think part of that is they are both trying to... I think this movie had the holdbacks of being a low budget, having a writer and director who don't really have a ton of other stuff under their belts. Like, a lot of the actors were coming off of the low-list horror films, whereas the Nick Cage version wanted to try and recreate that vibe, but was already working with well-known directors and actors.
But Merca.
Also, Merca, okay, honestly, the setting doesn't bother me in the Nick Cage version. I think they chose very smartly a similar enough setting for the American version, trying to pick a little town in Alaska. I think it correlates well enough.
Washington.
Or
Oregon, something like that.
Same difference. But like...
Excuse me. Excuse me.
I know. But like, there is more room for nothingness in America that, like, honestly, throw a dart. You're probably gonna land in a spot where you could arguably have a weird cult and no one would blink an eye.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even need to be all that far out there.
No, not really.
Like, Colorado, man. They got a lot of cults. And they know it.
Yeah. Well, and also, I think part of it, too, is a lot of the themes of this movie actually are more applicable in the last few years than the first time I watched it, to be honest.
I also think that this movie happened at a really good time because it happened when this narrative and this sort of story, the audience was capable of empathizing with Howie, but also seeing his recklessness and his foolishness for what they were. And as the time has progressed, instead of seeing Howie as like instead of degrading the story, if anything, it has just enhanced it because we have we are so much as a culture more aware of cults, of hyper-religious people, of this idea of like how horror movies work in general, and like what you should do if you find yourself in a sketchy situation. Like how murder detective movies should go.
Well, we're also true crime people, so...
True, but like, let's not pretend that this movie's pretending not to be horror.
No.
Like, if this movie had been, like, released last year, and somehow all of these people, I think there's only one who's still alive, but, like, if all of these people had, like, just redone it, it still would have had the same vibe.
No, exactly. That's why I think Midsommar is a spiritual successor to this.
I would agree.
Despite this movie having a spiritual successor.
It does have a spiritual successor. I think because of the cult standing and love of this movie, there's always going to be more spiritual successors. The question is going to be, which one do you jive with? And which one is the newest version of understanding a way out there cult? Yeah. And I think Midsommar is our current understanding of a way out there cult.
Yeah, nope, I agree with that. So, but anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird previews.
Thanks for listening. Check out the full episode.
And stay for the end because we have a new game in that episode for season 5. So,
will Nico be forced to watch all of the Barbie?
We'll see.
We will find out.
Peace.